The sun had not yet cleared the rimrock when Elias Thorne walked out to the corral and found the mare dead. She lay on her side in the dust, legs stiff as fence posts, eyes already clouded. A week of fever had taken her slow, the way drought takes a field. He stood there a long minute, hat in hand, listening to the wind scrape against the adobe. Then he knelt and cut the bell from her halter. It was the only thing of value left on the place, that small brass sound, and he dropped it into his shirt pocket like a coin for the ferryman. He was 43, lean as a winter steer, with a face carved by years of squinting into glare. The ranch was 80 acres of alkali and mesquite, a claim he'd filed after the war when the army discharged. Him with a bad leg and a pension that never came. He had buried a wife here once, and a boy not yet 2. Cholera took them both in '68, and since then the land had shrunk around him like hide drying on a frame. Neighbors had drifted off. The spring went dry 2 summers back. The mare. He walked back to the house, boots dragging furrows in the dirt. Inside, the air smelled of old coffee and pine and smoke. He poured water from the Alia into a tin basin and washed his face, feeling the grit slide off in gray streaks. Then he took the Winchester from above the door, checked the loads, and stepped out again. The 2 girls came over the rise just after. Noon. They were afoot, moving slow, one supporting the other. From the porch he could see the older one was tall, maybe 18, her hair braided with red cloth, her calico dress torn at the hem. The younger couldn't have been more than 14, limped badly, her right foot wrapped in a rag that had gone dark with blood. They kept their heads down, but he saw the way the older one scanned the horizon, watchful as a hawk. Elias did not move. He leaned against a post, rifle across his forearms, and waited. When they reached the yard, the older one stopped. She looked at him a long time. Her eyes were black and steady, but there was something raw behind them. "You speak English?" he asked. She nodded once. "Water," she said. The word came out cracked. He studied them. No weapons he could see, no horses. The younger girl swayed, eyes half closed. I stepped off the porch and walked past them to the well. The rope was frayed. He hauled the bucket up slow so it wouldn't slosh. When he turned back, they had not moved. He set the bucket down between them. "Drink." The older one knelt first, cupped her hands, drank, then lifted the gourd to her sister's lips. Blood flecked her mouth. Elias watched without speaking. Then he went inside and came back with a clean rag and a bottle of carbolic he kept for cuts. Set them beside the bucket. "Wash that foot," he said. "It'll fester if you don't." The older one looked at him again. "Why?" "Because it's bad." She did not answer. She took the rag, soaked it, and began unwrapping the bandage. The wound was deep, a knife cut, maybe, or a bayonet across the arch. The flesh around it was hot and swollen. Elias turned away, walked to the corral, and stared at the dead mare until he heard the hiss of carbolic on skin. When he came back, the older one was binding the foot with his rag. The younger one sat with her head on her sister's shoulder, breathing shallow. "They'll come," the older one said. "Who?" "Men. From the town." He waited. "3 days ago," she said. "They took us from the river, said we were strays, took us to the stock pens behind the livery, said we'd bring good money at the railhead. Miners pay for women. They tied us in a stall with the mules. Last night, we cut the ropes. Ran. My sister stepped on glass. We kept moving." Elias felt something turn in his gut. He had never joined in, but he had never spoken against it either. "You can't stay here," he said. "We know." He thought of the mare, of the empty corral, of the boy who used to chase chickens in this yard. "I got 1 horse left," he said. "She's old, but sound. You take her. There's a spring in the canyon below the Black Mesa. You can rest there." Older one stared at him. "You give us your horse? I don't need it." Her, the way she had reached for the boy even after he was gone. He thought of the nights he had sat with the rifle across his knees, waiting for raiders who never came. He thought of the war, of the Apache scouts who had ridden with him once, of the ones he had shot later when orders changed, because I can, he said. The older one stood. On the gelding's neck, the horse nickered once, soft. The older one walked beside, one hand on the stirrup, out. When they reached the gate, she looked back. Your name? I am Nita. My sister is Lila. Then they were gone, swallowed by the heat haze. He stood in the yard until the dust settled. Then he went inside and sat at the table. Bell from his pocket and set it on the wood. It rang once faintly when he touched it. Night came hard and cold. He built no fire. He thought of the girls moving through the dark, of the wound on Lila's foot, of the men who would follow. He thought of the geldings. Steady gait of how long it had taken him to gentle that horse after the army sold it off. Around midnight, he heard hooves. 3 riders, maybe 4. They stopped at the edge of the yard, silhouettes against the moon. Thorne, a voice called. Come out. He recognized the voice. Hank Rawls, deputy sheriff, a man who wore his badge like a license to take. Elias. 2 others followed, men Elias knew from town, hard cases who rode for the big outfits. Rawls reined up 10 feet away. You seen 2 squaws? He asked. Elias said nothing. They broke out of the pens. Rawls said, belonged to Mr. Calder. He's offering $50 apiece. Dead or alive. Elias looked at the other 2. The other carried a shotgun across his pommel. I ain't seen nobody, Elias said. Rawls laughed, short and mean. Rawls leaned forward. We'll look ourselves. Elias lifted the rifle an inch. You step off that horse, you'll never step back on. The night went quiet. Even the coyotes stopped. Rawls stared at him, then he spat. You're a fool, Thorne. They backed their horses, slow. Then they turned and rode out. Elias waited until the sound of hooves died. He was still on the porch when he heard them. Not for riders, not 10 horses, many horses. A low thunder rolling down from the north. He stood. They came over the rise like a dark tide, 200, maybe more. Warriors mounted, lances glinting, faces painted for war. They spread out across the yard in a wide crescent, silent. At their center rode an older man, broad in the shoulders, hair streaked with gray, a blanket coat thrown over one arm. He carried no lance, only a carbine across his lap. The warriors stopped. The older man rode forward alone. Elias stepped off the porch. He kept the rifle down. The man reined in. His eyes were the same black as Nita's. You are Elias, he said. The voice was deep, unhurried. I am Taza, father to Nita. And Lila? Elias nodded once. Taza looked at the corral, the empty space where the gelding had stood. My daughters told me what you did, he said. They said you gave your last horse, that you stood against the men who hunted them. He was shorter than Elias, but he carried himself like a man who had never bent. Taza asked, I've heard the name. Then you know I do not come to talk peace with white men. I know. Taza studied him. Yet you helped my blood. I helped 2 girls who were hurt, Elias said. That's all. Taz's mouth moved, not quite a smile. That is not all. He turned and raised a hand. 2 warriors rode forward, leading horses. One was a bay mare, strong in the haunch. The other a gray gelding, younger, with a white blaze. Behind them came pack animals laden with hides, blankets, jerked meat, sack of corn. Taz gestured. These are yours, he said. Elias looked at the horses. Then at Taza, I can't take them. You already took my daughters' lives in your hands, Taza said. This is small payment. Elias felt the weight of the morning light on his shoulders. He looked at the warriors. Their eyes were hard, but not hostile. He looked at the empty corral. He looked at the house where no one waited. I didn't do it for pay, he said. I know, Taza said. That is why we are here. He turned to the warriors and spoke in Apache, low and quick. The crescent of riders shifted, half turned north, half south. Sentries, scouts. Taza faced Elias again. The men will come. He said, Calder's men, Rawls, they will come for you now. They will burn this place. They will take your life. Elias nodded. He had known it since the night before. We will wait, Taza said. If you wish it. Elias looked out across the land he had tried to hold. The cottonwood was dying. The fields were dust. The spring was a memory. The house still stood. The porch still held the mark of his boot heels. He looked at Taza. I wish it, said. Taza nodded once. They waited through the morning. The warriors dismounted, watered their horses from the well, ate in silence. Elias brought out coffee and poured it into tin cups. No one spoke much. A young warrior with a scar across his cheek watched Elias for a long time, then offered him a strip of jerky. Elias took it. May chewed in the same quiet. Midday the dust rose again, this time from the south. Calder's men came in force 20, maybe 25. Rawls at the front, Calder himself behind, a big man in a black coat, riding a blood bay. They stopped at the edge of the yard. Calder reined up. He looked at the warriors, then at Elias. Thorne, he called. You've made a poor choice. Elias stood on the porch. Taza stood beside him. You've come for something, Elias said. I've come for my property, Calder said. And for your head, if it comes to that. Elias lifted the Winchester. You won't have either. Calder laughed. You're one man in a pack of savages? You think they'll die for you? As it spoke then, loud enough for all to hear. They will die for their own, he said, but they will kill for me. Calder's face darkened. He looked at Rawls. Do it, he said. Rawls drew his pistol. The first shot came from the ridge to the east. A warrior on high ground. The bullet took Rawls through the chest. He fell sideways, boot caught in the stirrup. His horse bolted. Then the yard erupted. The warriors fired from cover mesquite clumps, the adobe wall, the dry wash. Calder's men returned fire, wild and panicked. Horses screamed. Men fell. Elias stepped inside the doorway, levered the Winchester, and shot a man who tried to flank the house. The man spun and dropped. It was over in minutes. When the dust settled, Calder lay on his back, staring at the sky, coat open to the wound in his chest. Rawls was dead in the dirt. The rest had scattered or died where they stood. The warriors walked. Among the bodies, taking what was useful, weapons, ammunition, horses, Elias stood on the porch and watched, did not move. Ta came to him. It is finished, he said. Elias looked at the dead. Then, at the house. Not yet, he said. He walked down the steps, past the bodies, to where Calder lay. The man's eyes were open, fixed on nothing. Elias knelt, closed them with 2 fingers. Then he stood. Taza watched. You mourn him? He asked. No, Elias said. But I won't leave him for the buzzards. They buried the dead in the wash behind the corral.
Oh, no markers.
No words. When it was done, the warriors mounted. Taza stayed a moment longer. My daughters are safe, he said. They wait in the mountains. They will live because of you. Elias nodded. Ta looked at the new horses in the corral. The bay mare nickered. You will keep them? He asked. I will. Taza mounted. He looked down at Elias. If you ever need us, he said, send word to the Black Mesa. We will hear. Then he turned his horse and rode out. The warriors followed, a dark line against the rising sun. Elias stood alone in the yard. The wind came up, carrying dust across the graves. He walked to the corral, opened the gate, and let the new horses out. They moved slow, nosing the ground, testing the new place. The bay mare came to him, pushed her head against his chest. He put a hand on her neck and felt the warmth, the pulse. He walked back to the house. Inside, the brass bell still sat on the table. Picked it up, carried it outside, and tied it to the gatepost with a strip of rawhide. It rang once, soft, when he let it go. Then he sat on the porch, rifle across his lap, and watched the day burn itself out. The land was still empty, the fields were still dust, but the corral held horses again. The house held a man who had chosen something other than silence. He did not know if it was enough, but it was something.